will now request Professor Rawlinson, President JRE Group of Institutions, to address the audience.
William Butler Yeats, great poet, said, "The world is full of magical things just waiting for our senses to grow sharper." Well, we like those words, but it isn't a case of just waiting for our senses to grow sharper. Here at JRE, we're active participants in that process, and we, students, faculty, support people working together, interacting with each other to support this process of our senses becoming sharper. Today is an outstanding opportunity for all of you to listen to and to participate with some outstanding figures from here in India, and I'm delighted to welcome all of them this morning and for this afternoon. You're not here to listen to me speak, so even though I'm not usually a man of few words, I shall be a man of few words now. Welcome to our very special guests, and I wish you all a very worthwhile, interactive, learning day, so that indeed our senses are becoming sharper. Thank you.
Name short inspiring words. Thank you, sir.
To further enlighten us, I request Mr. Siddharth Mukherjee, Director, Human Relations, Edcom Raffles Higher Education Limited, to address the audience.
Good morning, friends. We are very privileged to have such a dignitary like Mr. Rani, Mr. Singhal, Mr. Nikhil, Mr. Verma, Ashish, and Anish with us. It's really, I have no words to express thanks to all of you. And what is very inspiring is Mr. Irani wants to have an interacting session with you. So please interact, and if you have any doubts, if you have any questions, please clear them out. We would be very fortunate to, we can't have such people again and again. So take use of the time and interact with him, listen to him very carefully, to all the people they are here, and also interact and make it very participative. Wish you all the best and have an enjoying day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Continuing with the proceeding, I would now take the honor to introduce our chief guest, Dr. J.J. Irani, who have indebted us with their very presence. Who doesn't know Dr. Irani? Dr. Irani was MD of Tata Sons. He has obtained M.Ed. PhD degree from the University of Sheffield, UK in 1960 and 1963 respectively, with a gold medal for the PhD. He has served in various capacities in organizations, significant being the Confederation of Indian Industry, Indian Institute of Metals, All Indian Management Association, and the Asian Association of Management Organization. Dr. Irani was conferred honorary knighthood in 1997 by the Queen of England for his contribution towards strengthening the Indo-British partnership. He is also on the board of various Tata companies and has been on the company's board as a Tata Steel nominee since June 1993. Now I request Dr. J.J. Irani to address the audience and share his views on the today's topic, Indian economy through the keyhole.
Mr. Singhal, Mr. Harpreet Singh, other respected persons on the stage, and my dear friends, the student community. I thought I would speak for about 10-15 minutes and then ask you to raise questions on which I can, shall we say, expand also. Since my retirement, which was about 2 years ago, I've spent quite a bit of time with the younger generation coming up, and particularly with the educational institutions with which I am associated. And I know now that there is a disconnect, if I may say so, between most of the educational institutions and the industry, because we find that the people who are trained in these centers of education do not really fit the bill as far as what industry wants. And I'm trying to bridge that gap to the extent possible, and therefore I would very much welcome questions from you. I will start off the subject thing by giving a few real-life examples on how industry and politicians or industry in general can play a role in the country. My first example my first statement would be that you don't have to wait till somebody has the same principles as you have before you start communication with them. It is possible for people with different principles to communicate and work together, even though in normal life they might be living quite apart from each other. My first example for this, if I may say so, would be with someone whom you have read about recently or you know about quite well, and that is Lalu Prasad, former Chief Minister of Bihar. One would think that J.R.D. Tata and Lalu Prasad would have very little in common. Both in a way I have interacted with, and I can say that, look, if you deal with a person, you've got to understand what his principles are. And it is not necessary for you to agree with them. But it is absolutely essential that you understand where he stands and where you stand and how you can bridge the gap. Taking Lalu Prasad's example, he became Chief Minister of Bihar around 1991. And as soon as he became Chief Minister, he naturally wanted to make his presence felt, and he started saying things about the Tatas who were in South Bihar. You know, Jamshedpur that time was in Bihar. So Mr. J.R.D. Tata called me up one day. It was towards the end of his career, and he said that, look, we've had plenty of politicians dealing with it. Who is this new guy? Jamshed, please go and sort things out with him. So I went to Patna, asked for an interview for some time. And when I went there, he hardly knew any English that time. He knows a little bit more now. And I hardly knew any Hindi. And, but I know a little bit more now. But we managed to communicate anyway. And what he conveyed to me was, of course, I started by saying that, look, we Tatas, we cannot pay you, we cannot pay your colleagues, we will not get involved in any political activity. But one thing I can assure you, that if you have anything to deal with the community, if you want to improve the life of different parts of the community, there we are with you. We have lots of funds for that. And another thing I said that we will never participate in politics, that is your subject. But as far as industry is concerned, we will not let you participate in our industry either. So we are living in different worlds, let's keep it that way, but let's cooperate for the common good of the, for the common good of the society. He listened to me without saying a word, and then right at the end, after I finished my talk, which was more than 15-20 minutes, he said, "Theek hai." And I didn't realize what that "theek hai" meant, but it clearly meant that our meeting was over. So I went out, and what has happened since then, over 20 years, even when he is now going to jail, I can tell you that he realized the difference in principles between us, just as I realized the difference in principles between us. And from that moment till now, he has of us made no improper request, none at all. He has not said, give me some money, give my colleagues some money, give my party some money, nothing. In turn, what we had done was that if he wanted us to contribute to flood relief, if he wanted us to contribute to digging bore wells during summer months. What he wanted was to clean up Patna. He wanted a good hospital for children. He wanted a school and a college to be put up in his own native constituency. All that we did. We had plenty of funds, we did that, but that was for the community's benefit, not for his benefit. But I used to tell him that, look, we will, during flood relief, for example, we will send you plenty of grain, whatever you want, but, and you can distribute it as if it is your own. You don't have to say that this is from the Tatas. And he made plenty of, shall we say, use of that offer, and but never bothered us with regard to improper requests. You know, so that's an example that I would like to give you when you go out into the open world, that you can't expect people to be following your principles, but you must understand their principles, and if they understand your principles, you can have a very good binding friendship. And I still look upon him, I know he's now in jail, I still look upon him as my friend, because for 20 years we have cooperated. That was one example. Another example, as far as in a totally different way, which I am very, shall we say, passionate about, is that we should have inclusive growth. Many people talk about inclusive growth without realizing what it really means. It means that all of us in our society should have the right opportunities to advance further. And in that particular case, I am a great proponent of what is known as now, affirmative action. Affirmative action, if you have heard about it, means that all the people who are not as privileged as we have been, not as privileged as you have been, because you are in this fine institution, how we can cooperate with each other. If any of you feel that you have come to this institute and you are a certain part of society because of your higher intellect and your superior ability compared to those who are sweeping streets and cleaning latrines, if you all think that you are, shall we say, inherently better than they, then I am sorry you are fooling yourself. You are here because your parents have given you a good education. Your society has put you in a place where you can do something for the country. It is not your ability, it is your situation, because you had the opportunities. All we have got to do is to give opportunities, similar opportunities, to those who have suffered up to now. And that is what is really inclusive growth, not forced by the government to give jobs or anything like that. Just help them to understand or take a place in society. I used to go and, like I'm lecturing now here, I used to go and lecture at the National Academy for where IAS people are trained, IAS and IFS, Indian Administrative Service, which is in Missouri. And there, out of the 50, 60 people, I used to spend a weekend with them. And there, right at the beginning, I would tell the person who was running the place, don't tell me, give me the list of names, but don't tell me what their background is. And over the next two days, I would talk with everyone, have dinner with them, have lunch with them, and then try to figure out who are the people who are from these, shall we say, underprivileged classes of society. And by the way they dress, the way they speak, the way they talk with you, in my list of about 60, if there were 10 of them, I could easily pick out 8 or 9. That means they are inherently, at a disadvantageous situation. And it is for us to make sure that they rise above this. And after the training, I would go back again and I would try to see whether the difference was as distinct as it was at the beginning, whether the difference at the end was as great. And to my great pleasure, I found out that it was not so. Giving them the opportunity to mingle with so-called higher classes of society brought them up to that level. And it is only the education and the environment that we provide which gives this difference, so to speak. So these are the two lessons to start with, which I would leave with you. I understand that there is a shortage of time, so I won't dwell more on it. But if there are any questions which you want to ask me, I will be very happy to answer them. And please remember that we want to be a one-class society. And we are not in favor of trying to rectify the defects of others. We must understand those, and we must try to work and cooperate for the greater good of the community, of the country. As I said, I give you the examples of dealing with people like Lalu Prasad and Tatas. Basically, totally different in their outlook, but we work together for the betterment of society. And also, please don't have any preconceived ideas about those lower caste people, as we call them. They are just as good as you and me. Thank you. If you have any questions, any doubts which you want to, I'll tell you one thing. The world outside is quite different from what is in the educational institutions. Maybe I should have said that right in the beginning, that I have been associated with several educational institutions, including institutes of management. And in my own way, I have been trying to bring about some changes. One thing, for example, which I find very necessary is that before the students come into a management institution, I feel that they should have some practical experience of the world outside. That means should work in service for about 2 or 3 years. This is becoming now essential in universities in the UK and in the USA, with which I am familiar. In India, directly from college, we want to go into management institutions. And I think that is a practice which we should try to break. Because those 2-3 years service in industry before you join a management institution gives one a great advantage. I won't embarrass you by asking you to raise hands who have worked there before you joined here. But, and I can see that most of you are very young faces and probably have come straight from school or college into a management institute. I'm not trying to discourage you, but if you had worked for a year or two outside, you would be in a much better position to recognize the difference, because there is a difference. And when you go out into the outside world, you will feel the shortcomings of your background as far as education is concerned. Anyway, you can ask any questions that you might want.
Hello sir, good morning sir. This is Yogesh Sood. And my question is that sir, business is all about filling gaps.
About what?
Filling gaps in the current value chain that is currently prevailing in the business. Yeah. Now, whenever we fill the gap, there is grabbing some resources, some opportunities from some persons and allocating those resources in some other way out to some other community. How do you think that it is an inclusive growth in the society?
No, I don't think you're taking anything out. You know, you can give without taking. And I think as far as educational institutions are concerned, they are doing a fine job. Not all of them, but most of them. And I would imagine, I have no experience of your institution, but I would imagine they're also adding to the great betterment of our country. But there is no such thing as you must take out something to fill up something else. You can always keep on, you can always keep on adding. There is a lot of scope for good work to be done. And I would imagine that the youngsters of this country would try to fill that gap. It will be a long time before we can say that, oh, to add something, we have to take out something. We don't have to take that out at all just now. We can keep on adding.
Sir.
Good morning, sir. This is Vijay Kumar Singh, and my query is right now RBI policies are more concerned about they are directing banks to go for the unbanked areas. That is, from my concern, that sector is not non-performing assets are more concerned in the urban rural areas. Why we all Indians are not focusing to those sectors who are very much productive? That is manufacturing sector for the betterment of the India economic scenario.
I think for the betterment of the country, we must equalize as fast as possible. And therefore, the rural areas must try to catch up with what is happening in the urban areas. And that is what the government is trying, not with much success, but to say that the banks must go into the rural areas. You know, we did the same thing 30, 40 years ago with regard to medical. And now I think even the rural areas have some medical facilities. We did the same thing with regard to engineers. Now we are trying to do the same thing with regard to finance. I think one thing which we must accept is that we are now a connected society. You know, 40 years back, when I came out of college, or 50 years back, India was in a situation where the people of one village had an influence of maybe 40, 50 kilometers, you know, where their farmlands were and things like that. And we had no television. But television now has brought not only the big towns of the area, but places abroad, New York, London, Moscow, into your sitting rooms. And people want to, they know what is the type of life being experienced there, and they want it here, and they want it now. And if the government cannot provide it through democratic means, they are prepared to get it with barrels of guns and things like that, because they want change. We in management schools must be prepared to give them that benefit of passing on the information or shall we say, giving them the benefit of another world. The media now is very active. You must be reading all the news about and gossip about what is happening in scams and things like that. Do you think scams were not happening 40, 50, 100 years ago? Of course they were happening. Maybe not on this scale, but there were dishonest people then also. What has happened, the difference is that now something happens, it is broadcast on television and so on, and if the whole world comes to know about it. That time it died within the environment of the village. As I said, people did not know what was happening 50 kilometers away. Now there is no such barrier. So all that we read in the newspapers is nothing new. The society was experiencing that throughout, excepting the difference is that now everybody knows about it. That time nobody knew outside that circle, did not know about it. So we are living in a difficult environment, and certainly some of the examples that come up from time to time of our legislators being the main culprits is unfortunate, but we don't have to give up. You must have to have the gumption of trying to improve that situation.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. So my name is Rahul.
I can't see you.
Good morning, sir. So my name is Rahul, and my question is, sir, Tata right now is trying to get himself into the aviation sector with two airlines. One is with AirAsia and one is with Singapore Airlines. Sir, could you give a brief about why they are trying to get involved with two airlines as such?
The two are totally two different airlines. You might as well ask that You're in steel. Why do you want to get involved with cars and trucks also? They are two separate companies. They are not going to compete with each other. One is the low-cost one, the other is the full-fledged airline. And there will be, it's exactly the same as a better example would be that telling Telco or telling Tata Motors, you are making trucks, why do you want to make cars also? They are two totally different businesses. And that's why Singapore Airlines, with whom we had ambitions of forming a joint venture 20 years ago, but was thwarted by the politicians, they have once again come with us to form the higher class airline, so to speak, and with AirAsia, which is now the front runner in the new type of airline, which is the low cost airline. So they're two different businesses. Just like trucks and cars are two different businesses.
Like Tata support Jaguar, which is 1 crore plus, and
that's right. That's an even better example. That we have the Nano, which costs 2 lakhs now, I think, and we have the Jaguar, which costs up to 2 crores.
But as he was looking for, this industry is making losses. So why then Tata is going to go the, I think that was a perspective.
No, but I think you make losses depending on the profit, depending on how efficient you are. Even in airlines, we now have Indigo, which is constantly making profits, where others are making losses. In USA, also there are airlines, plenty of airlines which are making losses. But you have one airline, the Southwest airline, which is consistently making profits. So it depends on your model and on your efficiency.
Morning, sir.
Good morning.
Talking about exports in the automobile sector, India still
Exports.
India still is a tiny player, contributing just 1%. But as we can see in the April-July phase, the exports of passenger vehicles is 76% of the revenue generated in India, and the contributing of 46.72% of three-wheelers as well as two-wheeler segment. So what's the reason behind it?
The reason, of course, for as far as exports is concerned, is that your quality has to be very superior. I don't think with much regret, I must say, that we have not yet reached that level of excellence and quality which the world expects of us. You know, in about 1990, I led a mission to Japan. That was the time when Indian industry was going to open up, 1990, 91. Probably some of you are not even born then. But earlier feeling was that we can make anything in India and we are so short. Everything from chocolates to cars of poor quality, and we will find a customer for them. It was true because we had no alternatives. But now we have realized that to succeed in the world, you have to have very good quality. Quality now is more important than economics, than prices and so on. Because people are prepared to pay as long as they get good quality. Just like, as I said, the simple example of sweets and chocolates, which were banned in India from abroad for many, many years. Now they have come in and all the brands which we had have disappeared. Same thing with radios, same thing with televisions. We used to make our own, but of poor quality. As soon as the brands from Japan started entering into India, all those, we had, I can't even remember their names now, but there were televisions which were Nelco, for example, a Tata company, used to make televisions. Obviously not of the appropriate quality, because within 2 years of imports being allowed, they disappeared. So now we have to compete on equal terms. And therefore, at no stage can we say that, look, give us some preference because we are Indians. In India itself, all that we can ask for is what is known as a level playing field. Don't give the people from outside an advantage over us. At the same time, we don't expect to have an advantage over them. It has to be all level. And let the best succeed with price, quality, anything. That is what I think management schools should imbibe as far as their students are concerned. Learn to be the best.
Morning, sir.
Sir,
I think the biggest problem, one of the biggest problems that any entrepreneur or any company that faces in our country is policy paralysis.
What is sorry?
Policy paralysis.
Policy paralysis.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So what piece of advice would you give to any young entrepreneur who will be able to